Welcome to season 4, Fostering Change, the #1 podcast in adoption and foster care. Each week we speak to the most amazing good humans about topics that touch each and every one of us. If you have a guest suggestion or interested in sponsoring our podcast, please visit us at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Now, sit back, enjoy, learn, get motivated, and let's speak to some fascinating guests. Well, you all know that this is my favorite month. It is actually National Foster Care Awareness Month. This is actually my second episode for this month, and I still get so excited. But what I'm really excited about today is when I get to have conversations with my friends. I truly believe that so many of the guests have become my friends, but the nice part about it is my next guest actually was my friend before this podcast ever started. For those of you who have seen my TED Talk, I give all my credit to my next guest because it was her who actually convinced me to do it. And I'm so glad I did. My next guest has done some amazing things. She has won the 2022 Harry Chapin of Humanitarian Award. And by the way, that is what we call a good human. Stacy is the executive director of 6degrees.org. For anyone who knows that, that's Kevin Bacon's, actually his charity. And Stacy, welcome to Fostering Change.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. It's so good to be here.
So I want to dive right in, my friend, because I've known you for years and I know the amazing work that you do and your organization does. But what I want my listeners and my viewers to know is exactly what you all do. Because, one of the things that impressed me the most about your organization from the very moment that I ever met you is that it's not about Kevin Bacon. And by the way, he is a social media icon lately. I don't know if everybody has seen that. He is an Instagram icon lately.
The goats. It's all about the goats.
It is. It's all about it. But this organization is so much more than Kevin. And that's what I've always loved, is that he's put this. So tell us exactly, what is 6 Degrees?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for kind of prefacing that. So Kevin really wanted to create something that if you took him out of it, it was really still centered on how we are all interconnected and how we all really need and want that human connection with each other. So 6 Degrees, over the years, we've really had kind of open pillars. But I would say over the last 3 years or so, we've really just focused in on a couple core areas that we feel like, one, need the most support and focus, as well as we believe we can make the most impact there. And we've seen that through our programs and initiatives. So we really focus on youth empowerment, equality and justice, emerging issues, and sustainable initiatives. We call ourselves a convener. We really focus on convening, creating, and ultimately amplifying cause areas and projects that are really focused on those key areas through a multitude of ways. And of late, it's been, producing different videos, content, and or PSAs around, different projects that are meaningful to our community.
I truly do believe that, when you educate your community, change happens. And I think it's very important for organizations like yours to be here, because everything that you just said is exactly what we need to be seeing and that we need to be hearing. Because I think sometimes as humans, and especially here in our country, we get so tunnel visioned and we don't think that it's happening. We don't think that, it's like I was talking to someone the other day, Stacey, and I said something about the number of kids who are aging out of foster care and how they become homeless. And the person said, well, I don't really see any homeless kids. And I'm like, yeah, because they're in our malls and our shopping centers, and you're not opening up your eyes. I love the part of youth empowerment. In today's society, we have seen so much injustice when it comes to so many of our youth. What are you doing to not only educate our community, but also empowering those youth?
We find that most of the campaigns and the projects that we have created or supported of late has been really focusing on youth. Early education, early literacy, getting books in the hands of young people that they can see themselves reflected in the pages, because we know that's how we're inspired, right? That's how we can see a path out for ourselves. We have done a really amazing program recently with Rock to the Future, which is a nonprofit out of Philly, which is, close to the heart of our founder, who was born and raised there. And Rock to the Future focuses on free music programming for young people, but it's kind of an entry point, right? As we know, the entry point is of trust, right? Yeah, come learn how to play an instrument, learn, how to work within a studio and how to write and sing and perform. But what they're really getting is a community, right? They're really getting other adults there that are there to support them and their families, and to create a safe space and an ability for them to thrive, and say when they need help with tutoring or advice or just life. So a lot of the programs that we're focused on are around producing content for these organizations so that they can have greater reach. We were really, really excited because with Rock to the Future, Kevin and his wife Kira are out doing some press for a new movie that Kira directed, Space Oddity. They were on the Kelly Clarkson show.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, as you know, like fantastic. And she always wants to find some charitable element or something really cool that they can tie to their guests for the week. And they saw the work that we did for Rock to the Future, which was the Bacon Brothers. Kevin wrote a song called Philly Thing. I reached out to Rock to the Future, asked if some of their students wanted to join them on the track. We made a full music video and a behind the scenes video that talked about their work, and brought in their executive directors and chief music officers and program directors and some of the parents and mostly the youth, getting to tell their stories for themselves.
I love it.
And those kids got to go on to the Kelly Clarkson show, play a little bit of the song acoustic with Kevin, share a little bit about their story. And, I feel like it's just meaningful work, right? We're all storytellers, but when we give people the tools to tell their own stories, and then we help turn people's eyes towards that direction, really beautiful things can happen.
Yeah, I agree. I love the fact, that is the true, what you just said is the true definition of empowering a youth, because I feel that so many times that we have failed our youth by not opening doors for them and not seeing that they can see that that door can open and look where that door can take them. And you started out this conversation about, how you're giving them the opportunity to play music, but you're building them a community. One of the things that we know that we deal with so much, especially, again, I'm in totally into the foster care system and everything about the foster care system. But it's not just about the children in foster care. It's children that are, less fortunate, who are not able to have parents who can afford music lessons or go to a camp. Or, maybe their dream is to play tennis, and, where is there, to buy a tennis racket? And you all are doing that. I mean, like I said, I find that absolutely empowering. And that is truly what it means to youth empower. And by the way, being on Kelly Clarkson is enough lift. But, the fact that you all have gone into, I want to say lower income communities, you already realize that these kids are a disadvantage. I look at my 5 beautiful babies who go to camp, or they're able to do an activity, and these kids just don't. Listen, everybody, I say this quite often, if you truly want to empower your community and help build a foundation, then you support the organizations that are building the foundation in your community. And this is exactly the organization, 6degrees.org. This is exactly, you put your money to make something stronger. And that's what you guys are doing, Stacy. I am so, like I said, I am absolutely so impressed. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, but Stacy, when we come back, I want to talk about Cake It Like a Kid. I really am excited for our listeners and our viewers to hear about this, and then also to hear about what are some of the other amazing things that are coming up, because you got a lot on your plate, my friend. You have a lot on your plate, but you know what? You are also a Wonder Woman, so I know it'll all happen. Everybody, we'll be right back. This episode of Fostering Change is sponsored by Comfort Cases, a national nonprofit that inspires our communities to bring hope and dignity to our youth that are in foster care. For just $10 a month, you can support the Comfort Cases mission and help us eliminate trash bags for kids who are entering foster care. For every $10 that you give, Comfort Cases will give a Comfort XL to a child entering the system. Be part of the change. Visit comfortcases.org. Well, I say it all the time. There's nothing like a great conversation with a great friend. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I have said this quite often. It's very, very important that organizations support each other. As nonprofits, we should have one full responsibility, and that is that we do not sit on different islands, that we all come together for the greater good of our community. And remember, do not forget, your community is not your zip code. Our community is our human race. It is our human race. And so when I see organizations come together and really have some deep conversations, it really empowers me to even want to do more. Stacy, one of the things that I really want to know about is this Cake It Like a Kid. What exactly is that? Let our viewers and listeners know exactly what that is.
Yeah, I love this. It's kind of like a little bit of a blast from the past, but it was a key turning point, I think, in 6 Degrees history and really our focus area now. That was one of the first convener campaigns where we said, just like you just said, there's enough to go around. We don't need to compete for attention or donors or, airtime. Let's all stand together when we're fighting the same battle here. So Cake It Like a Kid was a campaign that we threw together for Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, which is in September. And we partnered locally because it was kind of our first convener campaign. We focused on the regional level. As you know, we love to work right in local communities with local partners, getting local business community and sports teams and different local influencers all kind of wrapped together. So Cake It Like a Kid was a hashtag where Kevin actually kicked it off. I believe it was his brother smashed a piece of cake in his face on a little, Instagram reel. I don't think it was a reel at the time. I think it was a story, and said, the idea is like, be playful like a kid. Kids shouldn't be worried about things like pediatric cancer, right? So let's do whatever we can to support them. And then they'd call for what we call micro donations, the type of donation amount that anybody can give, anyone can feel really good about it, and be part of this activity. So it started with Kevin, and he asked a couple of his fellow actor in the community to join, and they did. And it just took off. We actually ended up supporting the National Institute of Health's Children's Inn. So think like Ronald McDonald House, but for the NIH, and they're doing incredible work for young people and their families when they're in these treatment programs. And then Make-A-Wish Mid-Atlantic, which we know Make-A-Wish well and just love their work. And they both rolled up their sleeves alongside with 6 Degrees. It wasn't about who's getting what, who brought in influencers on their side versus another. Everyone just did the work because they knew that at the end of the day, we wanted to get as many people talking and focused on pediatric cancer as possible. And before you knew it, people were getting cake in their face on morning news, on so many of the local Washington, D.C. network channels. We had ESPN, we had sports radio, entire hospital units. And then it kind of spread out from there. That was the special thing. So national news caught attention of it. And before you knew it, you had entire high school sports teams all over Texas and Minnesota doing it for their own local pediatric cancer awareness organizations. It was incredible. So what we really saw is this opportunity to ignite something within someone to say, make this your own, like get excited about this, take this, replicate it, do as you will, and support the organizations that you really care about. After that happened, fast forward a couple months, COVID hit. And we launched I Stay Home For, which was just Kevin with the hashtag I Stay Home For. For him, it was Kira. The idea was to take attention off of, hey, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't need to stay home. It was, well, you're staying home for other people that you care and love about, right? That campaign went super viral. we had everyone from Elton John to Demi Lovato to Mariah Carey, do the campaign, Dolly Parton, people on both sides of the aisle, people all over the world, right? Because we were in a global pandemic, like
Yes.
everyone was experiencing the same thing. But that campaign ended up getting about 1.2 million posts, over 2 billion impressions, and we won a great amount of awards for it. The Shorty Good Award for best hashtag that year, 4Webbies. Just incredibly proud of the team that kind of pulled together to make that happen. And it was all organic,
Yeah.
zero promotion.
And especially during a time
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
No.
Okay. I mean, come on, we're nonprofit people, and
Scrappy.
yeah, we rely on, and it was a scary time in the beginning,
Absolutely.
and so for Kevin to think of this and you all to think of this idea that really got you through and elevated, and by the way, it educated us. I mean, I remember it. I stayed home for my husband and I stayed home for my children. But again, kids were still coming into foster care. So we ended up gloving and masking up and coming in the center. And it was just my family and my assistant and her family packing cases because we were still seeing kids in the system. But I love the fact that you guys made, because that was my next question. I wanted to know what did you do during COVID? How did you guys get through it? But that shows me
that, we moved from our in-person pop-up drop-ups, little campaign activations locally to virtual. I mean, like a lot of people did, but ours was, okay, we're going to move online virtually. You're going to really heavily use Instagram, TikTok. Kevin got really, went full into social media, which really helped, utilize his platform and reach as well. But pretty early on with COVID, once we saw, the increased attention on racial injustice, we knew that we needed to do something quite big. So we spent that year all the way through to December when it launched, working with a team of incredible executive producers, an amazing board of people, and put together a huge music benefit that aired on CBS. So it was a primetime benefit called Play On. And it was all in support of both racial justice and hunger, which, were two causes that we saw just really, really be more pronounced during COVID, right? As you know, young people weren't in schools, right? So they were at home. So many of these young people depend on breakfast and lunch, given to them throughout the week, right? Through these different lunch aid programs. That was gone early on before they could really figure out how to fill the gaps for that. Families were struggling. People were out of work. We called on a lot of friends. Like I said, we put a strong board together of incredible individuals that everyone just rolled up their sleeves, met weekly. Kevin was the host along with Eve. We had people like Gary Clark Jr., Yola, Brandy Carlisle, Sheryl Crow, LL Cool J. Oh my gosh, the list was really long. Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, John Legend, they all gave of their time, and we had a night of wonderful performances.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And, the thing that, for me that, I mean, COVID was a dark time for so many people, and we've lost more and more people than we should have ever lost. But I think the one thing that I have to say that I know as a family we walked away with is I always thought that I didn't live in a bubble. And I always thought that I tried to educate myself and educate my children and my husband. And the one big issue was the hunger that just blew our mind. And my family, we did 400 ham and cheese sandwiches and took them to Baltimore City. And the line of people that were waiting, between the sandwiches, the shears made, and all the other food all these other families had, what we had all brought. And I literally, Stacy, I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because that is just something that we should not have in our country, much less in
and
our
we shouldn't
world.
need to, right? You see such waste everywhere, and you think there has to be a better way than this. And hunger is one of those things that cut across all cause areas, right? And when we're not nourished, we're not even able to, there, all the data shows like you can't think correctly, you know, you can't operate and fire on all cylinders. How is there supposed to be equity in education and opportunity when people are literally hungry? You
Right.
know, so we really felt like, you know, addressing that as much as we could was a great use of time, especially in 2020. That concert ended up raising $7.5 million, which we are blown away by lots of wonderful corporate partners and individual donors that text to give the night of the show. It was just a really special time, but it goes back to there are so many people that love us and care about the things that we care about. And you just have to ask,
Yeah.
you know, put a strong team around yourself, especially as a nonprofit, because we're talking about this together, Rob. You know how important it is to have the right board in place, the right network in place. And sometimes you need people that are going to be consistently rolling up their sleeves, but sometimes you just need someone that will make that phone call for you when you need them to make it. And it can make all the difference.
I agree. And, it truly, again, builds the foundation that we've been talking about for the last, 20 to 25 minutes. Stacy, I have to tell you, you never stop to amaze me. I am so, so proud of where 6 Degrees is going. I know there's some other great things that are happening with 6 Degrees, because truly, I do believe, and I say this quite often to our listeners and our viewers, is that, and I started off my conversation today with you in talking about how we educate our communities, and that's how we make change. So I know that is some of the things that are happening with 6 Degrees as well. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I will definitely share more, encourage people to head on over to 6 Degrees of KB on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook as well. We'll be sharing more, but yeah, we're very close to getting to talk about something exciting that we have in the works. We'll be able to amplify, dozens and dozens more of incredible organizations and giving them the attention that they very well deserve.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, everybody, my ask is not that hard. And as Stacy said, every dollar counts. I've heard people say to me, I was only able to give $5. And I was like, do you understand? $5 is more than we started with. So, whether you can give $1, $5, $500, or maybe you're lucky enough to be blessed to give $5,000. Please, please, please head over to 6degrees.org, because they are doing the work. They are doing the work. And make sure you follow them on all their social media platforms, because I think you are going to be excited with what's happening down the pipeline. Again, everybody, this is National Foster Care Awareness Month. We only have a couple of weeks left. I think every single month we should always honor our children who are in foster care, because do not forget, these kids arrive in the system because of a choice that someone else made. The choice that someone else made. Now, today, you have the choice to make the right choice and put your money where it needs to go. And I'm telling you, go to 6degrees.org. This is another amazing episode of Fostering Change. Until we talk again, take care. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening or watching the latest episode of Fostering Change. All of us on our team hope that you've learned something new today and have been inspired to be a good human. Now, just a reminder that you can always find Fostering Change on your favorite channels on Google, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and others, including, of course, comfortcases.org. I want to give a big thank you to all of you for joining us each and every week. And a reminder that if you have a suggestion for a guest, or maybe you might have a question about today's podcast, or are interested in becoming a sponsor of Fostering Change, please don't hesitate to email me personally at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Now, that's it for now. Thanks again, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.